Crossing the halfway point of the season, the drama continued last week as, right as a caution flew, we saw season championship challenger and year-long championship leader Bradley Holly spun off the nose of season championship leader Daniel Knight as they were battling for the lead. Knight would come home with the win and secure a spot in the round of 8, but also he came home with a penalty starting him at the back for tonight's race at Martinsville. Will Knight be able to claw his way back from the back to the front, or will Holly dominate out front as he has so many times in seasons past? And who else will secure their spots in the round of 8 as we leave tonight? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, sponsored by WEBB Hearing Centers. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and joining me in the booth is the Gary Weaver. Our intrepid pit reporter tonight is Joe Tebben. Our director will be Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Affectionately known as the Paperclip, Martinsville is one of the most challenging short tracks on any calendar. To find out why, let's take you down to our track guide.
Welcome to a piece of racing history. The Martinsville Speedway in South Central Virginia opened before NASCAR was even founded, and it is one of the sport's original tracks. Its paperclip-shaped half-mile has grown from a dusty pioneer to a beautiful racing facility. Going off of the paperclip nickname, Martinsville is two 12-degree banked corners attached to two 800-foot-long straights. Getting out of these corners is all about managing the rear tires sliding around. It often feels like you're coming out of a valley as you head on to the straights. Martinsville is very much a rhythm-based racetrack though, some even referring to it as a rocking chair. You get that sensation because you want to feel the front of the car slam down under braking and then lift back up under acceleration. Making things even more complicated is the fact that the track is only 55 feet wide. Down in the corners, you'll find that yellow curb. It's elevated off the track by several feet, and if you catch it with those left side tires, you're bound to grab a handful of steering wheel. All of the action isn't on the track, however. The pit road that starts in the entry to turn 3 and exits out of turn 2 is only 46 feet wide itself, making pit road under caution look like a circus. Martinsville is not a track that you can rest on your laurels at. Always on top of the wheel is the name of the game. The drivers that do that best find themselves with a grandfather clock trophy. The fans come from all over, the drivers come from all over, even internationally, to race at the hallowed grounds. So settle in, buckle up, it's bound to be a great race.
There you saw a couple laps around Martinsville, and it looks like they're doing a night race today. Gary, why don't you tell us about how these trucks are going to handle this place?
Well, especially now that it's at night. Personally, I don't believe the trucks have actually raced at night this track ever. So it's going to be something to very much heavily keep an eye on, especially because it's a new situation for these trucks. I've seen a few drivers and a little bit of actually rubber line forming after number 4 going towards that inside wall. You should be able to see it from this camera angle as well, actually, just off turn 4. So turn 4 on corner exit is going to be a corner to watch. Putting the power down too hard may result in a little bit of a race spin for you and sending you all the way to the back of the field.
Absolutely, the drivers are going to have to be very careful of that. One thing they're not going to have to be careful of is our race sponsor. This week we have a race sponsor that's White River LLC. White River LLC is a consulting and risk management firm that provides services to both industry and the government. Our series-long sponsor, as always, is WEBB Hearing Centers. They are family-owned and operated since 1972, and they offer top-quality hearing aids and service in Arizona. Visit them at webbhearingcenters.com. That is WEBB hearingcenters.com. Our league sponsor is the ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Visit thebuttkicker.com today to view their full line of products. Now, we do have a championship going on right now. We have a season-long championship that we're going to talk about at the moment, and that's led currently by Daniel Knight, who took the win last week over Bradley Holly and a couple of other drivers. Thomas Sink only 2 points back of that, though, so Daniel Knight needs to be very careful coming into these next couple of rounds if he wants to hold on to this season-long championship. Richard Regan Jr. leading a charge back, only 10 points back of the lead, with Mark Kalin 4 points behind him and Brett Adams 5 points behind him. Notice Bradley Holly's not on that screen. That wreck last week dropped him down to 6th, but it's still anybody's game at the top of the standings for the season-long championship in the Drivers' Championship. But Gary, why don't you take us through the teams?
Well, the team standings coming into tonight here at Martinsville, both 1-2 for the team at Waterback, but however, Jelly Rolls Racing is ahead just by 4 points, and 4 points behind them is, of course, Black Row Racing. And then quite a little bit of ways behind is Riding Shotgun Outlaws with 23 points, separating themselves from that first place position in the point standings. And then Rescue Racing Squad 3, 61 points behind in the 4th place position in points. And Ballistic Union 5th place in the point standings, 69 points out from that first place spot on the team standings.
Now, I know what you guys are all thinking. What about the year-long championship? And this one is where things get interesting. Thomas Sink secured his way into the championship with points last week, and Daniel Knight secured his way in with that win at Texas. But he's got a penalty coming into this race, and he's going to serve it. That's going to start him at the back of the field. But look further down that chart. Charles Sumner currently on the cutoff spot with Adam Shane only 5 points behind. Only 2 points in the clear is Colton Lane above Charles Sumner. And Austin Hunter only 8 points clear, so I could see those 4 guys, swapping positions this race. So these drivers are going to have to be very careful when they come in here for sure. But Gary, why don't you take us through the race details?
The race details here for tonight at Martinsville is round 5 of 10, just about the halfway point. And for tonight, it's going to be a 135 lap race, or 1 hour, whichever occurs first. The drivers do have 3 spare sets of tires if need be. And well, considering that this is the paperclip, that could be very much needed. So in theory, a 45 lap stint for all 3 sets if need be. Drivers are on the fixed setup, everyone running the same setup. It all comes down to skill, and of course a 24 incident limit for tonight. And with this being Martinsville, that's going to be something to also keep an eye on.
Absolutely, Gary. Now, we still have about 2.5 minutes left in practice, and there's some penalties we need to catch you up on. We want to read you the steward's call about the Daniel Knight Bradley Holly incident. Now, there was a caution that came out right before the incident, so that's something that we forgot to mention on last broadcast. But their quote is, right after lap 82, the yellow flag came out after the caution. The stewards have found Daniel Knight at fault for moving right on the back straight while trying to re-enter the racing surface and creating contact with Bradley Holly, resulting in an incident. He, as well as Adam Zemke, Danny Cervantes, and Adam Shane, will all start from the rear tonight at Martinsville. But Gary, that may not be as big of a penalty as it would be at some other tracks.
Not all, especially again, like you mentioned, some other tracks. However, though, with this being Martinsville, it's going to be a lot to think about. You get lapped incredibly quickly, so it's a lot to really think about.
It's definitely a lot to think about, especially with the one of the challenging championship runners of seasons past, Bradley Holly, currently topping the practice standings with about 0.1 of a second over Danny Cervantes, who's had a great run right now in practice. So a lot of drivers doing an excellent job out here on track trying to get themselves going. But we do want to remind you before we get started here that GSRC has advertising options available for you. This channel boasts over 1 million global monthly impressions. The branding opportunities include official series sponsorships, ad reads, race awards, and more. If you want to know more, follow the link down in the description, and we would love to get in contact with you. Well, as they're wrapping up practice here, Gary, what are some things that these drivers are going to need to be keeping their eyes on, especially going around these very sharp curves with the high curb on the inside?
Well, if that curb on the inside, it is absolutely, it's not the best, of course. You hit that thing and you're going, usually the main direction is unfortunately up the racetrack. So everyone has to get their lines as perfect as possible, not try and take too much curb or any curb, preferably on corner entry. And mid-corner, you can kind of just barely get the left side tires on that curbing to try and get a little bit more grip and, you know, rotate that car around through the corner. But well, it's something to keep in mind. 65 miles an hour as well throughout the middle of the corner at just about minimum.
That was a nice drive into the corner from Adam Zemke underneath Mark Kalin, as we saw in practice right there. But practice is over now, and that will take us straight to our 2 laps of lone qualifying. These will click off quickly, but it'll be interesting to see who goes out at the beginning of this session and who waits a little bit longer. But now, heading into qualifying, Bradley Holly did take the top of the practice charts, followed by Danny Cervantes and Mark Kalin. So those 3 drivers doing a good job so far, but the 5 minutes of qualifying have begun, and the trucks have started coming out on track.
Looks to be the first driver I'm looking to see is the 07, and there he is on screen. He's going to very quickly and very closely brush the outside wall. 2 laps, of course, for that number 07 machine. And right now, well, smooth in, smooth out is the key thing, and of course avoiding those outside walls and corner exit.
And Gary, how much is wheel hop going to be a thing, especially later on in stints with these trucks? I know it affects the upper classes of NASCAR, but how much does it affect these trucks when you get into these corners?
Well, these trucks, these things are relatively planted once you get that corner right, as Stride Charles goes up to at least 2nd place for the moment, as we take a look at Charles Sumner now making his way off turn 2, and you see, well, how close he is to the outside wall. With wheel hop in these trucks, it's not really too bad, depending on, of course, how much speed you're carrying. A little bit of a bobble off the corner could slow down that 98's first lap time, although not enough to prevent him from getting 3rd place.
Austin Hunter currently on top by 3/1000ths of a second over Doug Evans, who sits in second position. Mike Richter only about half a 100th back of those two as well. So a lot of drivers very tight on lap times, but that's something we can expect around here at Martinsville. Brett Adams coming around on his first flying lap. Jose Medina looking like he gets a little bit loose off of corner exit as well. That's a 20.455 for Jose. That's only going to be good enough for 12th position, as he's a good half second off of our pole time. But here comes Brett Adams off the final corner, crossing the line with a 19.834 for Brett. That's going to be good enough for 5th.
Those times throughout the entire top 6 now are incredibly close, as Medina comes across with a 20.2, being that previous lap time across the line. John LeBav is going to make his way up to 16th, and unfortunately for Brett Adams, he spins off the corner, and well, that one lap that he got in is going to be his only lap.
Here comes Colton Lane to start his first lap. Abner Acosta actually crosses the line with a 19.763, but it did not count. He must have clipped the outside wall on the exit of 4 a little bit. Richard Regan Jr. trying to set a good time, a 19.882. Not as good as his practice times, putting him in 8th position right now. But here comes Colton Lane trying to set a good time, be up there in the top 5 as he has been all season. A 20.206 is not going to do it, though. Only good enough for 17th. Some of these truckers really struggling right now, but here's Thomas Sink, second in the season-long points, starting his lap. Richard Regan Jr. faster that time around. 19.882 is going to be a pretty decent time for him.
And you saw just as we switched back to Colton Lane, he barely got his left side tires. Barely got his left side tires on that curb, and unfortunately he does not improve. So he did get a little bit loose off turn number 2 as well that final lap. So luckily that curb hop was not the only reason on why he got 0.2 of a second slower. Let's take a look at the 48 pulling his way into pit road after getting, at the moment, 3rd place.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good time for him. Thomas Sink in the best position as far as all the drivers who have set times so far in the point that are up in the top end of the points. This is Matthew Kolnick, who's looking for a good race tonight, currently having set a 20.492, and that's all he's going to set, unfortunately, as he gets a little bit loose coming into turns 1 and 2, ends up in the grass. Here's Colton Lane trying to do a better time, and actually I think he's already completed his laps, so he's just practicing a little bit more tonight.
Taking a look at Greg Corson, just going to come off the corner. Great corner exit and significantly faster than his lap time. We'll get a 21.6. And luckily for him, that might be, I believe, the end of his run as well. Abner Acosta running his lap time in that number 5 machine.
Unfortunately for Abner, he's actually done all of his laps already, so he's not going to have set a time. But look at this. Bradley Holly on his first lap goes to the top of the charts with a 19.698. That is significantly faster than the rest of the field already. So Bradley Holly showing that he wants to put the hammer in that nail that's in the coffin of Daniel Knight's race tonight. Daniel starting in the back after challenging with Bradley midpoint in the race last week. Bradley already up at the top.
Not only does he put in the fastest lap once, he does it twice just to hammer that point home.
He puts a full 10th and a bit on Austin Hunter, who currently sits in 2nd. But that's pretty much going to be everybody, I believe. Colton Lane's still doing some practice laps, and so is Mark Kalin. But that's going to be everybody, and only 23 of our drivers have set qualifying time. So that's going to take us to the grid for this race. Bradley Holly, with a fantastic qualifying, starts out on pole with Austin Hunter starting off alongside him. Doug Evans is going to start off in the 3rd position, with Thomas Sink starting off in 4th. Mike Richter starting off in 5th spot today with Brendan Chatley in 6th. Mark Kalen's going to start off 7th, with Charles Sumner 8th. Brett Adams and Nicholas Schwartz round out your top 10.
Starting in 11th in row number 6, it's going to be Richard Regan Jr. in that 46. 33 of Blaine Adams will start in 12th place. Lucky number 13 goes to Patrick Cowgill. Apologies. 14th place is going to be Brendan Walter. 15th place is going to go to Baron Hilton. John LeBuff starts 16th. 17th place is Kyle Streichars. 18th is Nicholas Hunter, 19th is Christopher B. Williams, and 20th is Colton Lane.
21st is going to be Jose Medina with Matthew Kolnick starting off in 22nd. Greg Corzin, your last truck to set a time, starting off in 23rd. Then the drivers without times, Abner Acosta, Dominic Bajin, Danny Cervantes, Adam Zemke, Doyle Lawrence, Matthew Aubrey, and Adam Shane. Of course, Daniel Knight starting from the back of the field as well with a penalty, so we'll see him in the back there. That's all 31 trucks that have shown up tonight. A pretty decent field for Martinsville.
An absolutely packed, excuse me, an absolutely packed field here for tonight, and I'm just looking through once again to see where pretty much everyone sorts themselves out, specifically the number 23 of Brett Adams, whose name I just saw on the grid. He is going to be starting 9th place, and he's 17 points above the cut line, so I believe in theory he might actually still be in line to be eliminated if possible throughout this race. So almost no one is really safe. So it's going to be between Adams, Walter, Hunter, Lane, Sumner, Schoen, LaBaff, and I believe that might actually be it.
Yeah, I think Mike Richter and Adam Zemke might be a little bit too far out, but if everybody has bad enough luck, they might have an opportunity to get in there. But man, Martinsville is such a scary place to have the round of 8 finish, because anything can happen on this track. It's so unpredictable, and the cautions here can be big.
Now, again, with this packed field, it's going to be maybe a bit too easy for the truck to get blocked. It's been possible, of course, to somehow squeeze their way through a little bit of a track blockage, but at the same time, this is one of those tracks where you really just want to come to a complete stop if you see somebody in front of you and not really risk creating a little bit of a traffic jam.
Absolutely. The PRL Truck Series here has had a checkered history with this track. It's been clean some seasons we come here, and it's been very messy some others. We're going to find out what tonight's race is going to look like and what the complexion of the race is going to be. The pace car taking 2 laps to form the field, as with 31 trucks, this is quite a few trucks to get lined up here, and they're still getting lined up as they exit 4. But now everyone in line, so this should be a fully stacked up and clean restart for these drivers. The pace car will pull off in the middle, in the back of the middle of the back straight. I'll get those words out eventually. Bradley Holly will lead them to the line. So the pace car getting ready to pull off, and it does. And here's Bradley Holly leading them to the line. He has control over the field. He can go at any point, but they have been waiting for the green flag the last couple of races. Austin Hunter with a little bit of a nose out over Bradley Holly. And Bradley actually gets a pretty decent jump on Austin, but Austin passed the line first. Hopefully he doesn't get a penalty for that, but look at this. Truck's already trying to dive down to the bottom of the track here. But Bradley Holly with a great launch off of 1 and 2 already takes the lead.
A very early single file. It's one thing that you
Oh,
want to get
and there's
around.
a wreck in the back. Nicholas Schwartz is spun around in the back of the field, and we already have our first caution of the day. And that includes the 23 of Brett Adams, just like you were mentioning, Gary.
Okay, well, I'm definitely going to take the full commentator's course responsibility for that one. As we go to the replay, unfortunately, Brett Adams getting involved and just unexpected with the breaking points there. It always happens here at Martinsville. And unfortunately, well, that's the case. Everyone, again, well, at least does come to a complete stop when possible. But unfortunately for Brett Adams, he's already gotten completely shuffled back up to 24th now.
Colton Lane involved in that one, as well as the 109 truck of Nicholas Hunter, who was involved. Quite a few trucks involved in that one. Doyle Lawrence got involved, the number 9 machine, one of our newer drivers to the series as of last season. So this first caution, I mean, obviously no one's going to come into the pits here, but just very difficult stuff. Oh, it looks like Nicholas Schwartz will be pitting, but he's got some significant left rear damage there.
And luckily here at this track, there's really no mention of aero, and it looks like he'll actually take the wise move and stay out. He'll pass through because, well, in the background, of course, the pace car is already rounding its way. So here at this track, it is incredibly difficult to time your pit stops enough so you don't get put a lap down. And, well, being single file, it extends the field out even more. So realistically, you'd have maybe about 10-15 seconds if you're just lucky enough in the back of the field to get your full complete pit stop.
And we do have a pit reporter this race, Joseph Tebben. Joseph, Joe, why don't you talk to us? How does that truck look for Nicholas Schwartz? It looked pretty bad from our view.
It doesn't look too bad, but he did take a pretty nasty hit to that outside wall. The left rear of the end of the truck is just jacked up a little bit, but hey, it's a short track. Maybe he'll be able to get over it.
Absolutely. It looks like we have another truck heading into pit lane. Dominic Bajin has decided to take to the pits, which is interesting because I don't believe he was involved in the wreck. So, and we're definitely a long ways out from the fuel window for these trucks. So, an interesting decision for Dominic to go through pit lane here.
We'll see how that plays out, and I did do a quick calculation, so barring, of course, anybody else, at minimum, well, right now, let's just say that Brett Adams is pretty much, I believe, just at the very end of that cut line, since he is about 26th, 27th. That's going to be the key thing for him, but with everyone else being where they are, that shuffles it out completely, so taking a look to see where the 65 of Adam Schoen is, who is, well, significant. I believe he's actually, he actually is in this race in 24. He's right there, so lights go out in the pace car. That's going to be something to keep an eye on for this restart.
Yeah, the round of 8 is where things get a lot more intense for these drivers, but the pace car back with its lights off. These trucks back lined up. Bradley Holly, Austin Hunter, Thomas Sink, Brendan Shatley, and Doug Evans rounding out your top 5. And look at this, Austin Hunter getting those out once again. Bradley Holly possibly trying to catch him out with a little bit of a penalty, but he goes immediately off of turn 4 this time and clears him well before they get down to 1 and 2. Thomas Sink's going to follow him through. Austin Hunter stuck on that high side. Man, they dive deep behind him.
They all make it through turns 1 and 2 as they slowly, once again, try to make their way a single file to make it to turns 3 and 4. This time, they just about do a few paint rubs here and there, but everyone able to get away, especially Holly in that 184. Bradley Holly doing an incredible job with this great restart.
That was Thomas Sink getting sent up the hill by Austin Hunter. Thomas trying to make that move over. Looks like Adam Zemke's falling down the field further back as well. A couple of trucks getting stuck out there on the outside line, on that line above the concrete that you, above the concrete. When you go through these corners, you can get up there, and it just has no speed. But Bradley Holly already setting the fastest laps of the race.
And once he is in that clean air, he has pretty much completely set sail.
Oh, we've lost the 95.
Yeah. Somebody else, unfortunately, huge T-bone. That is the 9 of Doyle Lawrence on the back straightaway as well.
The 95 got loose. He was part of a
was part of a three-way balance, Adam was saying, and just nowhere to go for Doyle Lawrence off of turn number 2 there. Just heavily unfortunate. That's pretty much rendered the 9 already done for the majority of this race. He does still have time to repair, but there it is when he was pulling into pit road and on board as well. Sitting, and just nowhere to go.
Yeah, nowhere to go for Doyle, and he was involved in that first incident as well, spun out, and now involved in the second incident. And Gary, talk to me, is track position important because of avoiding wrecks? I mean, it seems like you can get passes done around here, but it's so risky to be back there.
The thing is, it has its own perks and it has its own advantages and disadvantages, or the words that I was trying to look for there. You're sitting in the back, you're not entirely midfield, but at the same time, you're in relatively, essentially what's one of the most dangerous parts of the field is that you really can't see what could happen in front of you. Unexpected things like what happened to Doyle Lawrence, unfortunately, who has now pulled it behind the pit wall and rendered this race over for that number 9 truck. Well, if you're sitting in the back, you really can't do much if things like that happen. So it's a mixed bag. It's a 50-50 shot. It's like super speedways in a sense. You think you're safe at the front. Sometimes you're not. Midfield, maybe not. Back of the field, maybe not. It's all just a complete 50-50 shot.
Brett Adams got the wave around that time. And Joseph, I want to send you back down to take a look at Matthew Aubrey's truck, who just pulled out of pit lane. He's got some significant damage from nosing into that wall in the exit of 4. What's that truck looking like right now?
Yeah, Matthew Aubrey sat in the pits for quite a long time, going a lap down. The damage level looks similar to Schwartz's truck, just the rear quarter super jacked up, but He'll be hoping for a lucky dog in a couple laps time, and maybe he'll end up on the lead lap again.
Matthew Aubrey currently only 1 lap down as they continue to pace single file. Bradley Holly and Thomas Sink were able to pull away early on that restart, with Austin Hunter getting into the back of Thomas Sink as they went on that second lap through 1 and 2. Brendan Chatley currently in 4th, and Doug Evans, Doug Evans in 5th right now.
I believe the lights will be out this time by, and well, in the meantime, as we wait, I'm going to be making a few calculations with the point standings here as well. Good news for Brett Adams and fans of Brett Adams. He is now ahead of Adam Schoen, although by about 3 positions. So he is, both of these two are definitely going to be battling, but right now looks to be in favor of that number 23.
So as the pace truck gets ready to pull off once again, Bradley Holly will lead them to the line with his sister team driver Thomas Sink on the outside. These two Wetterback drivers up in front, 1-2. Let's see how coordinated their restart is. See whether they can keep Austin Hunter and Brendan Chatley in the dust as they exit 4. Not super coordinated, but Thomas Sink does get a pretty decent jump, and they are going to leave that free 12 in the background. Brendan Chatley ducks down to the bottom lane as well, but it's going to be side by side between Doug Evans and Mike Richter.
Those two will continue that side-by-side battle going into turn number 3. It's almost 3 wide in the middle of the field. Luckily, they sort themselves out. A little bit of rough and tumble, but they all continue forward off turn number 4. And right now, that 312 and well, the entire top 5, top 6, just about all single file.
Yeah, the field managing to keep things going straight and narrow at this time. We're taking a look at Mike Richter as he's trying to hold on to that, but look at this. Thomas Sink putting the challenge to Bradley Holly here at early stages of this race. He's definitely clinging to his rear bumper, possibly looking for a move.
That would not be a surprise. Thomas Sink wanting to capitalize and make sure that he's into this next round. Granted, he's already in on points, but I'm pretty sure he just wants to make sure and hammer that point home with a win.
And Joseph, it looks like it's more bad news for Adams Family Racing. Blaine Adams looks to be gone on our screens. He pulled into pit lane. Do you know anything that happened to him?
Blaine Adams was actually the car who went a lap down early on after being involved in an accident, and he has actually completely disconnected from the race, so that is bad news for one half of the Adams family.
Tough break for that team for sure, but Bradley Holly currently out front in the lead with Thomas Sink lined up behind him. Austin Hunter in 3rd, Brendan Chatley 4th, and 5th being Mike Richter. It looks like we have another caution.
It looks like it may have been a quick spin, and then in fact maybe a quick tow as well by the looks of the smoke. It was the 89, unfortunately, of Matthew Koenig all the way in turn number 4.
Yeah, and it looks like Kolnick's problems in qualifying came back to bite him in the race here. He just gets too hot into 4, spins that truck around, noses into the wall, and actually gets stuck there. So he's in pit lane, and he'll get some repairs done. But tough break for the 89, and tough break for all the drivers. Looks like we do have a taker on pit road, though. Brendan Chatley's coming to visit you, Joseph.
Yes, Brendan Chatley is coming down pit road from 4th place. We're going to see if he's going for an alternate tire strategy, maybe an alternate fuel strategy, as he creeps towards his pit stop. This very slow pit lane at Martinsville. He's still going, here he comes. And it looks like he's taken 4 tires, so it's an early tire call for Brendan Chatley.
Not a horrible idea, Gary, but that being said, we've only had about 10 laps of green flag running so far. So you think this is a strategy just to get out of the traffic? I mean, I don't know. Like, what's your feelings on this strategy call here?
I'm not entirely sure about taking the tire sets so incredibly early on. It's lap 21, and granted, it could be an expected run to just, run the first few portions of the race under caution, maybe try and get a little bit of a jump on everyone, but at the same time, the race hasn't gone on long enough to really warrant a change of tires either, so it's a little bit of it's of course a very interesting decision by Colton Lane, so we'll see if that helps him or harms him here in these coming laps.
Yeah, Brendan Chatley coming down pit lane. That was Nicholas Schwartz also ahead of him, still getting damage repaired on his truck, but Brendan Chatley coming down once again. Could this possibly be fuel for him to try and make it to the end? Because he came in and topped off.
It could be the case. We'll see. But at the same time, again, the fuel could have been saved throughout these caution periods that we've had. So I'm honestly pretty confused, but wondering well, how this will play out.
And I don't have the calculations available to determine how many cautions we would need to be a zero stopper for these trucks, but I believe we're on our third caution already in this race so far. Martinsville proving to be one of the tough ones. Not much as far as attrition is concerned. We only have realistically 3 trucks more or less out of this race, being Doyle Lawrence and Blaine Adams, and then Matthew Aubrey. Though Aubrey's still running, so Aubrey and Kolinik's still running at this point, but yeah, only 2 trucks currently out of this race as the lights go off on the pace car. So once again, Bradley Holly will lead them to the line. Thomas Sink currently in second place up above Bradley. Mike Richter in third. Austin Hunter fourth. Mark Kalin in fifth. These drivers up at the top 5 have not had many opportunities to affect passes here, and some desperation might start to come into play as we see in races past at Martinsville. Bradley Holly launches off, and Thomas Sink with a good launch as well is going to line up on his outside. They're still side by side for third behind him as well, with the 51 of Mike Richter trying to make it work on the high side. He can't quite do so, though. Austin Hunter is going to line up next to him as they exit 3 and 4.
Just going to file down to now the top 6 being single file, and unfortunately for Brendan Walter, he's currently getting shuffled back up on the outside lane as he's got, unfortunately for him, the 46 rather, Richard Reagan Jr. on the side. He does have room.
And the 98 truck just got sent into turns 3 and 4. He's currently riding the wall, trying to survive in that truck, and all the rest of the trucks trying to go around him, but that was a scary moment for him for sure.
Yeah,
here's the replay.
Thing. Yeah, there it is. Just unfortunately misjudging, having different braking zones going into that corner entry, and unfortunately for that 98 of Sumner, this is not going to entirely help him out, at least on paper, when coming into this race, being on that cut line.
We'll have to keep our eyes on him to see where he comes out, but as we go back live, he's still trapped up there on the high side. Further up the field, another truck trapped on the high side is Doug Evans in the 41 machine. He's just now slotted into a spot, but he's lost a couple positions now off of that last restart, falling back to the 9th spot on track as he falls in between John LeBaff and Kyle Strykars. Strykars doing a good job moving forward in that truck, trying to get up there into the top 10, finally breaking into it here on lap 29.
Luckily for Strykars, after qualifying 17th, this race has proven successful so far for him. And that 07 is doing an incredible job at defending as well, as Acosta was right on the back bumper and sliding off the corner in the back was Daniel Knight.
Speaking of Daniel Knight, he is that championship, season championship leading driver that's currently trying to make his recovery through the field. He's made his way all the way up to 12th from the back of the field, having started in 25th position, doing an excellent job climbing up through the back of that field and trying to make some moves. But there's a nice battle going on for 5th position between Mark Kalin and Richard Regan Jr. Richard Regan known for his aggressive moves on track, Mark Kalin known for his speed and his aggressive blocking as well. These two are going to be battling for quite a while here.
I would not be surprised at that at all, with trying to consistently battle, but unfortunately here, so early on in this race as well, it's not exactly the best. It's more best to just wait, see what the tires are like, and well, in this case, that's obviously not going to happen, as Regan dives right down to the inside, says, I want this 5th place position, please, and well, Mark Kalin, unfortunately, having to back off on the outside, a little bit of a bobble as well, but could probably get the 46 back on the corner exit.
Going to definitely try, but he can't quite get the truck hooked up. He has to fall in behind the 46, so Richard Regan Jr. up to 5th position. And he is starting to get going once again. I've been keeping my eyes a little bit on Brett Adams because he continues to fall back in the field. The other Adams racing driver, not Blaine, who's out of this race right now, but Brett Adams, who got his lap back. Brett now in 20th position. He restarted up in the 15th spot, but has just been falling back ever since.
Unfortunately, it's just not the race at the moment, especially with that restart. So going to have to, luckily, take a look, relax a little bit, use this run as a little bit of a regroup method as well.
This battle we're looking at is that battle for the third position. As we jump on board, take a look at these trucks as they exit 1 and 2 here. It's just such a bumpy track here. This is Mike Richter trying to battle with Austin Hunter. This is for the for that third position, or Austin Hunter rather, battling with Mike Richter, and we're riding on board with Richard Regan Jr., who's tucked in behind them.
And right now, I'd say being tucked in behind is the best plan as well. Again, just wait, let everything run itself out. If you know you're faster than somebody in front of you, or in this case, if this does happen where someone shuffled that onto the outside, take advantage of that as they're passing the 89 of, unfortunately, it's 89 mission again of Kohanek getting shuffled back. Same with Matthew Aubrey, both getting put a lap down. And just like that, as quickly as they arrive, they have disappeared in the mirrors.
And like you said earlier, Gary, you get lapped so quickly here at Martinsville. Bradley Holly currently only about 4 seconds behind Jose Medina, which is the first lap car on raw pace that he's going to be catching. And Thomas Sink up there in the second position is starting to pull away a little bit from Mike Richter in third. Mike Richter is the leading of this train, but there's Bradley Holly up there out to a 1 and almost a 1.5 second lead over Thomas Sink. So he's just taking off here.
And 184 is practically on rails, doing an incredible job keeping that car stable, controlled, not pushing it incredibly hard, and knowing the limits of that truck, going to about 116 miles an hour at maximum on the front straightaway before braking down to 65, and then back up once again to about that 116 mile per hour mark.
He's doing an excellent job up there in the front of the field, currently with the fastest lap times in the field up there in the lead, but he's going to have to start dealing with some traffic. Oh, look at this battle going on.
My, what great timing that was, and what a squeeze that was as well, just about to defend that position. Luckily, everyone still manages to continue forward and hang on, but wow, what a very risky defense, I'd say that would be.
Absolutely. That's Daniel Knight out in front of these guys as he's trying to lead them around the track. Daniel Knight currently in the 9th position. He's tried to make his way up the field, currently tucked in behind John LaBath. And then we have Abner Acosta behind him, Kyle Strikars, Danny Cervantes, and Doug Evans tucked in behind. We're riding on board with Daniel Knight as he's sizing up John LaBath. Daniel now up to 9th position. I mean, the man's just cutting through the field, but unfortunately...
0741 on the front straightaway. It was a quick spin, and it actually started between both the 07 and the 25 on the entry.
Oh, and yes, and Adam Shane ends up turned around in that one. Adam Shane only 5 points below the cut line coming into this race. We're going to see it once again here. Look at that.
So let's see here. It started off turn number 2, and yeah, the 65 did end up going around, but going back into turns 3 and 4, a little bit of contact, a dive that didn't go well. The 07 tries to get back going, contacts the 41. That's the cause of the caution. And then the 65 was showing, it just gets tagged when the 109 was trying to check up as well. That definitely no fault of Nicholas Hunter, just trying to slow up as quickly as possible.
Yeah, he ends up just...
I don't think they really made contact, actually.
No, I think that was just outbraking himself, unfortunately. So he's got some front end damage that might affect his top speed. All right, well, the drivers now coming into the pits. All of our lead lap drivers coming in. Joe, take us.
Well, I'm watching literally everybody in the pits here. Race leader Bradley Holly pulls up to the first pit stall at the end. Looks like he's going to take 4 tires and fuel, and it sure looks like everyone else in the field is going to follow his lead.
Bradley Holly winning the race off of pit road with Thomas Sink behind him. Richard Regan Jr. jumps a couple spots up to 3rd with Austin Hunter coming out in 4th position. Mark Kalin up to 5th, and Brandon Walter up to 6th position here. So very interesting developments here. One driver who's decided to stay out so far is Colton Lane, but I would expect him to come into the pits sometime within the next couple of laps to get service, considering he has some significant damage. So we'll keep you updated on that, but the race off of pit lane goes to Bradley Holly.
interesting development by the looks of it, as I was about to say, and might actually be staying out here. But I believe the 51 of Mike Richter, as the field makes their way through turns 3 and 4 again. Well, Mike Richter up to what is now, I believe, or back down, I should say, to 14th. He is in this race, although in some cases, I'd say, in a pure must-win situation, as well as the 57 of Adam Zemke. So both drivers are here, but essentially almost in a virtual must-win situation.
Yeah, Richter currently in the best position out of the two of them. The 57 of Adam Zemke currently down in the 13th position. Both of them in must-win situations in this race. Mike Richter, he's been fast all season, but unfortunately, this track doesn't seem to be suiting him right now.
Not at the moment. He did start 5th place. He currently sits in the 9th place position as we will be making our way, I believe, now to the 1 to go signal. Lights go out on the pace car. So this is going to be a very a restart to definitely keep your eyes on, especially with the 51 being up here.
Absolutely, and the 60 of Colton Lane has decided to stay out. The significant damage and tire wear, he's leading them. He'll be leading them to the line this time by Colton Lane, deciding to stay out and try and lead some laps here. But with the speed of Bradley Holly, this is going to shake up the restart for sure. But here we go, through 3 and 4. The pace car has pulled off. Colton Lane will start this race for them once again. Lap 49, they cross the line. Colton Lane with some pretty serious wheel spin as he gets into turns 1 and 2. Bradley Holly's going to try and go around the outside, and with some fresh tires, he's going to make it look easy.
Absolutely incredibly easy. Flies around the outside as Lane gets, well, never thought you'd say this, but shuffled back on the inside lanes. Everyone takes the outer line around, and just like that, the caution is out in the back of the field.
Patrick Cowgill involved in this one, unfortunately, the 31 machine.
The entry turn 3 contact with the 41 of Doug Evans.
Number 109 gets into it. Charles Sumner in it, as well as Brett Adams. So quite a few trucks that have had trouble before. It looks like being in the back of the field starting to become a liability for these truck drivers.
And just about a no fault to that 41 machine. Just brakes, misjudges the space a little bit, and of course that always happens here at Martinsville when racing in such close proximity.
Riding on board in the helmet cam there for Jose Medina as he comes through, and wow, look at him.
Ooh.
Great move there to stay out of trouble.
Great heads-up driving as well, I will say that. Immediately brakes, and at that point, when you see someone sideways in front of you, you think, okay, well, they're either going to overcorrect and somehow spin out to the right-hand side onto the outside portion of the track, and, you know, I'll end up T-boning them, or, well, just like that, lanes open up, and you're just fine.
And Joseph, you've seen Colton Lane come and go. Was that just regular service, or was he doing some repairs as well?
I believe that was just regular service. He was not happy with these old tires, understandably, and he's got some fresh ones, and now he should be on a similar strategy to the rest of the field.
Unfortunately for him, that's going to put him down in the 26th position. I believe he'll be able to get past Brett Adams, who's just coming down to visit you now, Joseph. But quite a few drivers having repeat incidents here tonight. Just getting trapped down there in the back of the field, and just some unfortunate events happening.
That definitely is the case. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Joey.
I'm watching Brett Adams come to his pit stall to get some damage repaired for what must be the 2nd or 3rd time this race. Also involved in multiple accidents were Patrick Cowgill, who just got clobbered on that wreck. Charles Sumner got clobbered into the wall by Baron Hilton a couple laps ago, and he got all of his damage repaired in the last caution, and then he got damage again, and he comes back down pit road this time.
Some really tough luck there for those drivers. Man, Gary, it's proving to be tough for the drivers towards the back of the field, but these drivers towards the front are trying to make the most of it.
And drivers in the front are absolutely, well, and that's, I'm pretty sure really the only one who may not entirely be enjoying this, but also kind of, is Bradley Holly. And, well, with this race, again, mentioning that it was either going to go to 135 laps or 1 hour, whichever occurs first, with the lights out in the pace car. We are just about halfway, 30 minutes in, so Again, it's either one or the other. Halfway portion of this race is lap 67 and a half, lap 68 in terms of what lap the leader should start.
So Bradley Holly will lead them to the line. Richard Regan Jr. has climbed his way up to second position, in position to try and get a win here tonight. Thomas Sink lining up in third behind his sister teammate, and Austin Hunter in fourth. Mark Kalin up to that fifth spot. He's in that he's one of the drivers who's definitely trying to get a good finish here tonight. Bradley Holly with a good launch on Richard Regan Jr. Richard Regan tries to cover him off. He's going to look to the inside, but Bradley Holly covers that off into 1 and 2. They're pretty clean, still 2 by 2 through the mid-pack as they get off of 1 and 2.
A great attempt, but unfortunately it did not prove successful on that main start. Just like that, the top two have very quickly broken away as only Thomas Sink defending himself between either Mark Kalin or Austin Hunter, who are side by side for fourth place just behind him.
Bradley Holly smacks in the fastest lap to try and pull away from his fastest challenger so far, Richard Regan Jr., but this is the battle for that 6th spot between Austin Hunter and Daniel Knight has gotten in there as well, with Mark Kalin trying to hold on to 4th up ahead of them. Daniel Knight up some great positions as well. Richard Regan Jr. putting in the fastest lap to try and challenge against Bradley Holly up there for the lead of the race. But look at this side-by-side fight still going on between Mark Kalin, Austin Hunter, and Daniel Knight as they go into 1 and 2 here. Daniel Knight clips the inside, curving just a little bit as he exits the corner. He's going to have to slot in behind the 312.
What a great side-by-side battle that was, and only finally does it come to an end. Right now for the lead, no movements yet, but Richard Regan Jr. is right all over the tailgate of Bradley Holly on every single corner, entry, and exit. Hasn't made the move to make a pass, which, well, if I was leading, I'd be a little bit worried, and that may be the thing that Regan is trying to do. Use that, just sitting behind, not trying to make a move. Use that and hope actually that Holly overdrives the corner, trying to stay ahead.
Doing everything he needs to do to try and put pressure on Bradley Holly. Bradley's got that rear end of the truck a little bit loose on that thing right now, under braking. And Richard Regan Jr. looking very, very set in. But that being said, as this run goes on, that truck's only going to get a little bit tighter, most likely, on exit. And he's already seeing the results of that. But look at this, snapping a little bit loose there on exit. You can see as we ride on board with Richard Regan Jr. how much he's wheeling that truck. Both of these drivers up at the front of the field really putting the truck through its paces right now.
Absolutely setting the pace in that process as we just ride on board the 46, just seeing how close he gets to the back tailgate of that 184. And I see just up ahead in the distance is a lap car. That is the 31 of Patrick Cowgill in that position of 26. So that could play a little bit of an effect as well. Holly could maybe try and use him as a pick. We'll see.
Whoa! Oh man, Richard Regan Jr. just catching the truck as he comes off of 3 and 4 there. That's going to pull a little bit of a gap to Bradley Holly and keep those rear tires for Richard Regan Jr. Some scary moments there for Richard Regan Jr. for sure. Bradley Holly probably wishing he would have gone around right there and made things easier for him. But Richard Regan Jr. gathers that truck up, and now they're catching up to Patrick Cowgill. They've broken up by about a second and a half over Thomas Sink, who's trying to hold off Mark Kalin and Daniel Knight. Patrick Cowgill goes to the top of the track and lets the two leaders by.
Great sportsmanship, and I'm pretty sure Holly was thinking, well, I hope he was in that preferred lane on the exit just so it would cause the 46 to slow down and, of course, force that 46 to give a little bit more space in between. But look at that, just like that, loose off the corner a couple laps ago, 2 laps later, gets it right back up against that tailgate.
But do you think he's overdoing it, Gary? Do you think he's pushing a little bit too hard here? Is he possibly taking too much life out of those tires?
I'm seeing the brakes light up every single time on entry to turn 3, so that might be the case. We'll see how that fares, especially on turn 1 as well on corner entry. Maybe, again, like you mentioned, definitely pushing a bit too hard and hoping that the 184 could mess up. But I think at this point that the 184 is just looking right out the front windshield as they nearly make contact, looking just right out the front windshield and pretty much acting like that rear view mirror does not exist.
Yeah, they did make contact actually there through 3 and 4, so 1 and 2 one more time. Bradley Holly trying to pull away a little bit here, but we have a little bit of a battle going on up ahead of them. It's Brett Adams and Matthew Kolnick. Kolnick up at the top of the track. He's actually going to be on that preferred line on exit. Oh,
ooh,
man! Scary moments there for Richard Vega Jr. and Bradley Holly as Kolnick was on the exit and slow. Both of them trying to get up to speed there. Couldn't quite do so on their preferred line, but they both got affected relatively evenly here. And Brett Adams going to go to the top of the line, but he's quick enough through the corners. This might actually hurt Richard Vega Jr.
I remember what I said about maybe, 5 laps ago, where I said that Holly was probably hoping for a lap car to be in that preferred lane for Reagan. Well, that didn't really do anything, and I'm pretty sure Holly's wondering, what do I have to do to get him off of my tailgate, or at least farther outside of my rear view mirror? And my oh my, I don't think really anything can shake the 46 at this point.
The 46 doing an excellent job of trying to hunt down Bradley Holly. Richard Vega Jr. has had some great opportunities throughout this series for those wins. He has a couple under his belt in this series in general, but to beat Bradley Holly on one of Bradley's strongest tracks would be an awesome achievement. He's definitely riding right up against his rear bumper right here. And as we get further into this race, Gary, especially towards the latter parts of this race, is moving Bradley an option here at Martinsville?
Well, it's an option, of course. I mean, it's Martinsville. It's always a signature little bump and run at some points. Now, is it the preferred option? Well, obviously, from what we've seen in the past, 10, 15 laps, that, the 46 of Reagan wants to do this as clean as possible. And, well, if he would move him up the racetrack, I'd say it would at least be definitely either unintentional or not really malicious in a sense.
This is our closest battle on track, but we do have other battles going on as well. That battle for third place pretty tight between Thomas Sink, Mark Kalin, and Daniel Knight. Also a good battle for 8th position with Abner we have a spin.
Oh,
Danny
25.
Cervantes. Danny Cervantes in the 25 is around.
As well as the 89 of Cole Hanick, unfortunately getting just tagged after the fact. And it's a quick spin, and luckily Cervantes is able to get that back going. And, well, as quick of a spin as it occurred, it's pretty much gone, but just nowhere to go.
Oh, man. A couple of drivers with some pretty significant damage after that one as well. The 911 of John LaBaff takes some damage. We're going to ride on board with him as he just gets caught out by this as well.
Just moves up and, oh, man, just thought he had it. I've been in those situations where you see someone move low, and then you yourself move up top, and unfortunately, well, you're just unfortunately caught in the crossfire.
And Joe, we've talked about Kyle Strykars a couple times tonight, but it looks like you might have an update on him.
I did not see or hear anything about Kyle Strykars. Maybe I need to get some Webb Hearing Center's advice for my hearing, but I think he just got manually disconnected from the race. And the other drivers who have been having problems here, of course, John LaBaff is going to join the used car lot in the pits after damage in that accident. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars involved in incidents so far today.
A lot of trucks in the pits right now. Even more trucks just getting damage repaired. But it looks like our leaders are going to not take any sort of any pit stops this time around, which, considering they are on 30-lap-old tires, not that much of a surprise, considering they've probably only done about 24 laps on these tires. But Martinsville tends to eat up tires even with the cooler temperatures here we have tonight. It's not that cool, though. 82 degrees Fahrenheit on track. That's 28 degrees Celsius. Air temperature is about 76, so not the coolest track out there that we've seen at Martinsville, but it's not hot enough probably to make that much of a difference on tire wear, right, Gary?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be any significant tire wear, or definitely nothing to at least warrant the drivers going into pit road. And, well, luckily on GSRC.TV with our timing and scoring, you can see this race. And, well, looking over in the stint category, of course, these drivers have been running at least about 31 laps at the most, and that's about 15th, first through 15th, save for maybe the one driver of Colton Lane, who has 25 laps on his set of tires, 26 once he crosses the start-finish line.
Yeah, the GSRC.TV is the best place to keep up to date on our year-long championship drivers around the cut line. Those would be Austin Hunter, Colton Lane, Charles Sumner, Adam Shane, and John LaBaff currently at most threat. Brett Adams, though, his bad day continues. He's still in the pits, Joseph. Does he have more damage?
I think he's just getting more repairs from an earlier accident, but he has now gone 2 laps down as he leaves the pits right behind Matthew Aubrey.
Gary, that's pretty dire for the championship points situation.
Yeah, for that number 23 machine, it is not helping at all. And at this point, for Brett Adams, as the lights are out on the pace car, I feel like that, unfortunately, it could pretty much be over at this point. Looking to find where the 65 is, Adams showing 13th.
So Brett Adams is going to have to hope for some bad luck for Adam Shane, unfortunately. But as they come back to the green, Bradley Hawley will lead them to the green with Richard Regan Jr. in second, Mark Kalin third, Thomas Sink fourth, and Austin Hunter fifth. As they come off of turn 4, Bradley Hawley puts his foot down, tries to beat Richard Regan Jr. out. He's going to hope that Thomas Sink is able to play a little bit of rear guard as he tucks in behind Bradley Hawley. But look at this, Richard Regan Jr. strong on the outside of the corner, but just gets a little bit tight on exit. But they're both going to still clear Thomas Sink as they go through 1 and 2 into 3 and 4. It's 1, 2, 3, Bradley Hawley, Richard Regan Jr., and Thomas Sink.
Maybe we cannot get rid of the 46, even though he's starting on the outside on a restart.
3 wide behind them, 3 wide into turns 1 and 2. Sorry to break in like that, but Austin Hunter, Mark Kalin, and Daniel Knight went 3 wide to that turn. Fortunately, they were all able to sort it out, but Daniel Knight now up the inside of Mark Kalin. That was almost disaster.
Think about this, Hunter entered on the outside lane and still got a position.
So side by side now between Mark Kalin and Daniel Knight. Daniel on the bottom side, Mark Kalin trying to hold it strong on the top side. Looks like Daniel's picked up a little bit of damage from this race. And we've had another wreck. A big wreck this time, Gary.
And everyone coming to a stop, sorting themselves out. Looks to be the 57 as well. Adam Zemke, oh no, from 18th place once the caution came out. My, it is a chain reaction according effect throughout this. There's about 3 different wrecks in one here.
A gigantic wreck. It's going to take a while to sort out for these truck drivers for sure. Starting with Christopher B. Williams, who's currently in the pits. No, he's not in the pits right now. But quite a few drivers having trouble there. But as we are under this caution period, we'll keep you updated on the changes that happen during this caution, but right now we're going to take a very short break here on the GSRC, but we'll be back to give you updates on who was involved in that wreck and everything that happens during this caution when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Bradley Holly leading them to the line for this restart with Richard Regan Jr. second, Austin Hunter third, Thomas Sink fourth, and Mark Kalin fifth as they come off of turns 3 and 4. Bradley Holly gets the jump once again. Richard Regan Jr. covering off that inside line from Thomas Sink, but Thomas not as good of a restart this time. The 312 on the outside trying to get a good run going, but he can't quite do so. And there's some major contact in the back there as they all get going once again. We're going to stay green, but these drivers all pushing and shoving in through 1 and 2.
49 laps to go when we cross the line. 48 now at this time by the start-finish line. So the laps quickly and slowly winding down, and we're getting into just about that territory where drivers can make it on one set of tires. And we'll see if anyone does decide to take that second set, as I believe that's a 65 around off of turn number 2. No caution as he was just out of the racing line. It's the 65 of Adam Schoen. If he does back up, the caution will surely be thrown. I think he's trying to get it refired.
He do his best to take a tow here and take one for the team, but unfortunately he's still in the championship fight. So he did take a tow. Unfortunately, that's going to make things interesting between himself and Brett Adams. We'll keep our eyes on that for sure. But look at this, Daniel Knight battling for that third position with Thomas Sink. And wow, I mean, Daniel Knight has made it all the way from the back of the field up to the top 3. Now trying to challenge up there. He's past Thomas Sink. He's looking at those top 2 guys up ahead of him. He might have a chance at a win here, Gary.
Daniel Knight looking to go back to back at the moment, although that depends how much difference there is between his lap times and, second and first place in this case. And, right now, looks to be about a 10th of a second the last time at the start-finish line is that difference. Knight is on a hard charge, and so is the 46 of Reagan. He looked off of turn number 4, and he decided to slot right back in behind the tire track and on the tailgate of the 184 on corner entry of turn 1.
Things are getting intense up there for the lead. Look at this, Richard Regan Jr. peeking to the inside. He's going to try it just a little bit, but look at that. Bradley Holly deep on the brakes as they go through the corner and come off of 1 and 2. Richard Regan Jr. took it too deep himself, and he slides it a little bit as they come across the line. Wow, it's tight racing up there for the lead, but as they keep doing that, Daniel Knight's going to get ever closer.
The more they keep battling, the more chance and the less time, less effort that Daniel Knight has to put in to catch up, and the more he can save his tires as well with that less effort. Although he's definitely not saving his tires. If he's scraping the wall off turn number 4, he knows it is right there. He wants to go back to back.
Sure, that would make Bradley Holly a pretty frustrated man to see Daniel Knight climbing into that relative behind him. As we go on board with Bradley Holly, the ButtKicker on board looking back towards Richard Regan Jr. Richard Regan trying to fight his way through Bradley Holly, trying to do it in a clean fashion. But Bradley Holly is known for putting on good blocks. He's not going to let Richard Regan Jr. go by easily.
And we've seen these past now 30 odd laps that Bradley Holly is just completely stark at defending. He's firm on this defense as well. A little bit of contact on corner entry again, where Reagan is just continuously, just not maliciously again, making contact with that tailgate, but just letting Holly know that, hey, I'm right behind you and I'm definitely not going away, just in case the mirrors weren't enough.
He makes contact once again with Bradley Holly, gets him a little bit loose on the exit of the corner. This has been Bradley's toughest season thus far in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series since I've started commentating him. He's been struggling all season to try and get wins. He's been leading many times this season, probably has more lead laps than anybody else in the series, but just has not been able to secure those wins like he's used to. He's used to winning almost half the races in a season, and this season he's been relegated to just a couple. Richard Regan Jr. trying to make that statistic even worse for him. Bradley Holly, if you think he's not going to defend this hard, you've got another thing coming.
And right now, well, there is something else arriving, and that is the 89 and the 95. Both drivers will be put a lap down here momentarily as the front 2 runners will now catch up to these drivers a lap down. Adam able to get back going, slowing his way down on the inside, just so he knows that he is out of the preferred lane on corner entry turn number 3. Front 2 runners just get by the number 89, just like that, and that foul will stay well out of the way.
And Joseph, you've been following the woes of Adam Shane as he's come in and out of the pits a couple times.
Yep, he got 9 laps.
Oh, sorry to break in, Joe. We've had another wreck. Brendan Chatley's around on the back straightaway, and he's taking a tow
no.
immediately.
The 51 as well. Mike Richter involved.
Mike Richter, one of those drivers who was probably out of the championship points coming in, but now definitely, unfortunately.
Started right there with the 59. The exit of turn number 2. Quick contact. Nowhere to go. We got one more look as well off turn number 2 to see what exactly happened to Brendan Chatley. Comes off the corner. Just unfortunate spacing there. Nails the inside wall, and Mike with nowhere to go. He tries right at the last second. You can see the car dart to the left. Oh, man.
Chatley's bad season continues, just 2 points out of making it into the round of 12 just a couple races ago, and now he's had major contact with the wall. Joseph, what you got down there?
Well, unfortunately, Brendan Chatley joins the long, ever-extending list of cars that are out of the race. That interesting strategy move at the start of the race looked to be pulling off, but unfortunately at Martinsville, it's the wrecks that'll get you. And also out of the race is Patrick Cowgill, who had a struggled race. He's got 30 minutes required, so he's done for the night.
Brett Adams is your lucky dog truck once again. Still trying to get some damage repaired on that machine. The dude's been plugging away at it and is still managing to hold on to those lead lap for sure. But currently, Bradley Holly's still leading over Richard Regan Jr. Daniel Knight, though, I was noticing, Gary, has been falling back quite a bit over the course of that last run. He lost about 3 to 4 tenths coming during that last stint, especially before they caught the lap trucks.
He may have used everything up, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. But not only that, I believe, of course, when to get another look myself, and he does have a little bit of front-end damage from earlier contact, so that could also be playing into effect. Granted, aero's not incredibly important here at Martinsville, but the amount of damage to your front bumper is incredibly important, especially when it comes to engine performance.
And Joseph, you have an update on Adam Shane?
Yep, unfortunately, the update for Adam Shane is that he's also out of the race. The list of trucks out of the race is going to be longer than the list of trucks in the race before we know it.
Currently, we have, by my estimations, close to 10 trucks out of this race already, and with this caution, if I'm not mistaken, that's going to put us close to a timed race. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on that. It's going to be nip and truck for these drivers.
I'm looking right now, the 51 of Mike Richter currently sits 1 lap down. Does he move, actually scratch that 2 laps down, and he'll be 3 laps down now once the pace car makes its way past. So I think we can render the 51 at the moment eliminated.
So Bradley Holly will lead them back to the line with Richard Regan Jr. in second. Daniel Knight's going to line up behind Bradley Holly for the first time today. Thomas Sink lining up outside of Daniel Knight with Abner Acosta up there in the top 5 for the first time in a while. Abner up for the first time this race. He's up 19 positions, but as they come through 3 and 4, Bradley Holly will lead them to the line. Richard Regan Jr. trying to get a nose ahead, but that nose ahead is going to put him a nose behind as they come off the line. Look at that. Richard Regan Jr. crossing over the nose of Daniel Knight, trying to make sure that he holds on to that second position. He's going to be able to do so. He's pushing Bradley Holly through 1 and 2. Thomas Sink stuck on the outside line, can't get the power off. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Bradley Holly, Richard Regan Jr., Daniel Knight, and Thomas Sink.
Now, if I was Daniel Knight, I would not be entirely happy about that, especially so soon for the start-finish line. We'll see if that 17 does have an answer when it comes to these final just under 30 laps once we make our rounds here at Martinsville. But still not leaving the back bumper is the 46. The 46 is Holly. Meanwhile, not just leaving the back bumper the 17, although now he is, considering the caution is out once again.
We'll take a look at what caused the caution this time by.
Thinking it may have been a possible quick spin. Not entirely sure where as of yet, though. It was in the very back for 109.
So the 109 of Nicholas Hunter being the truck in question. And he gets tapped by the 09.
Yep. It's right in the back. Unfortunately, it goes in way too hard into the corner.
So So that will definitely put us into timed race territory. We only have 8 minutes left of racing, and these drivers, they're not going to be able to get to the lap count, so this will definitely be a timed race, and the timed races can finish under caution. It will not go to a green-white checker if they do reach the time, and so this makes things very interesting and makes things a little bit more desperate for those top 5 drivers as far as trying to get the win here.
Not only desperate, but as well as a little bit more of adrenaline. It will be incredibly close at the time, that is for sure. But at the same time, it's a lot to think about. So 44, just about 44 to 45 seconds under pacing here at Martinsville, and we'll add that up slowly but surely over time. You can start to think, please let this go green as soon as possible so we don't end on time. But, well, with Martinsville being Martinsville, that's not going to be the case.
Most of the drivers up at the front having only pit one time. It was pretty early on in this race, but with the amount of cautions that we've had, makes total sense that they would do that. Joseph, you have a couple updates for us.
None of the leaders coming to pit road, but one driver who will be coming to pit road once again is Charles Sumner. He has been the bad luck driver today. He hasn't caused any wrecks, but he's been involved in about 5 of them. So he's coming down pit road to get some who knows how many repairs for the who knows how many time.
Well, Charles Sumner just having a horrible race today. He's definitely going to look back on this one and hope that things go better for him in the future. Most of these trucks are on 66-lap old tires. We've probably only done about 35 of them under green, Gary.
I'm pretty sure it's absolutely just painstaking to see, just with everything going on throughout this race, and unfortunately not having as many laps as you want under green, and then, well, with also the added possibility of ending under time.
So they have 4 minutes to go this time by. When they cross the line, they're going to be close to 6 minutes to go this time by. When they cross the line, they'll be close to 5 minutes to go in the race. And they're definitely not going to make it to the time limit for sure. So Bradley Hawley will lead them to the line with Richard Regan Jr. second, Daniel Knight once again in third, Thomas Sink outside of him. That's going to be Abner Acosta in fifth, with Dominic Pagini in sixth position. Look for this to be an interesting restart up at the front, because it's go time now for these drivers as they exit 3 and 4. Bradley Hawley gets a pretty decent run, but does slide the tires just a little bit. There goes Richard Regan Jr. down on the inside. Thomas Sink trying to carry speed through the outside, but he gets up into the asphalt just a little bit. Those top 3 once again clear as they exit 3 and 4. Both Richard Regan Jr. and Daniel Knight clipping that outside wall just a little bit as they go back into 1 and 2.
Mark Kalin as well, making contact with the outside wall off turn number 2, able to keep it off the turn 4 wall, and still able to keep it moving forward as everyone is incredibly quickly single file all the way back to just about 9th place, where Brendan Walter trying to pass the 25 Danny Cervantes for 9th place, and does prove successful.
Keep your eyes on these top 3. We'll keep our eyes on the clock for sure. 4 minutes 30 seconds to go as they cross the line. Bradley Hawley leading over Richard Regan Jr. and Daniel Knight. Daniel just cannot keep up with these guys. They seem to pull away every single time we get to a corner exit here. Dominic Magine trying to challenge for that 3rd position, but the race really is between those top 2, Bradley Hawley and Richard Regan Jr., as Richard Regan's been hounding the back bumper of Bradley all night, and if he doesn't make a move soon, if we get another caution, this race might be over.
Not Bradley Hawley, but rather Regan Jr. He will have to make a move as soon as possible. He's been sitting behind Bradley Hawley for pretty much the past pretty much the entire second half of the race now, and if he continues to sit there, he will pretty much blow out his opportunity to actually get a race win here unless he makes a move now. So it's better to do it sooner than later.
About 10 to go at the line. We are hearing this time by. We have about 4 minutes left in this race. Looks like Adam Zinke having his own connection issues. We'll touch on that if it affects the end of it at the end of this race. But as they cross the line, Bradley Hawley and Richard Regan Jr. separated by less than 2/10 of a second. Richard Regan Jr. trying to get to that rear bumper of Bradley Hawley before he diamonds off the corner. He's got a pretty good run this time by, but not quite close enough to get an overlap.
While Reagan is trying to get by Brandon Holly. I think it's also the 866 that's trying to get by Daniel Knight for that third place position as well. Two different battles here in these final laps.
Closing laps are starting to get tight. 3 minutes to go as they come around turns 3 and 4. Richard Regan Jr. and Bradley Holly. Oh man, Bradley Holly getting a little bit loose. That's going to back up Richard Regan Jr. into Daniel Knight. Daniel's going to have to take to the outside. He's then going to cross over and try and get a block on the 66. He has to take it in deep and almost makes contact with the back of Richard Regan Jr. But that might be the gap that Bradley Holly needed here. They're going to start pulling away once again. Looks like Baron Hilton had an incident. He's currently out of this race as well. A couple of drivers having late incidents. 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to go.
Right now, I believe actually added now to the list of retirements, Adam Zemke is out officially. So this is a wild, wild race, and all that move from Reagan Jr. maybe a little bit too much, and that may have given the 184 win, but it's not over quite yet.
Not at all. Richard Regan Jr. closing to the back bumper once again. Look at that. He's trying to take a different line into and out of the corner. He's trying to set up Bradley Holly. We've seen this in NASCAR races in eons past, and now we're seeing it once again. Richard Regan Jr. trying that different line to try and get to the back bumper. It's going to be 5 to go at the line, and this is with the time, so keep that in mind. 5 to go as they cross the line this time by Bradley Holly trying to hold off Richard Regan Jr., who goes a little bit deep into the corner. He's trying to get a good exit off. He does. Oh, spins the rear tires just a little bit. He had a decent run on Bradley Holly, and he knew it, but can't quite get there. This is bringing Daniel Knight back into the play here.
Oh, that's going to be it. Caution is out to the 109 of Hunter in turn number 2. That's going to be the race.
And that's exactly what we were talking about, Gary. Richard Regan Jr. just couldn't get the job done fast enough. The caution comes out and ends the race. There you see the caution incident happening on screen. Just a little bit of back to front contact there coming through the corner, and that will finish it out for you. Unless Bradley Holly has a disconnection or his engine explode or something unfortunate happen to him here, he will win this race.
I'd say just very carefully bring it through and bring it to a pit road at the start-finish line. Just under a minute remaining, which is about 54 seconds. So we should be getting the white flag, I believe, next time by.
Well, it's been a very dramatic race, to say the least, Gary, for sure. Richard Regan Jr. trying to make his way past Bradley Holly, couldn't quite do it, but talk about impressive drives from Daniel Knight and Dominic Bagine, starting nose to tail in the back of the field, 25th and 26th position, up to 3rd and 4th. I'm sure Bradley's kicking himself to see his one of his championship challengers made that much time up, but Bradley Holly coming around this time, still going to be, I believe we're on the white flag lap this time around. Bradley Holly taking the field on a parade lap to finish this out. Talk about a big relief for Bradley here. This is going to be a big one for him.
And luckily for Bradley, all he has to do is just bring it home at a smooth 40 miles per hour. He's getting himself a secured win here. 2 wins this round.
That's a big, big result for Bradley. 2 wins in this round. He's going to hope to carry that momentum as we head into Phoenix next week. But Bradley Holly, coming off of turns 3 and 4 behind the pace car at 40 miles an hour, will come home to win the race here at Martinsville PRL Truck Series Round 6.
What a great job by Bradley Holly. Great job as well by the 4-6 of Reagan Jr. Both of those drivers in the second half of the race putting on an absolutely incredible battle, but it was great defensive driving by Bradley Holly that got him this win.
Absolutely. Richard Regan Jr. coming home in second. Third's going to be Daniel Knight, and Bradley Holly's going to come around and celebrate on the stripe here. We're going to take it to a break here on the PRL NASCAR Truck Series here on GSRC, but don't go anywhere. We'll have those unofficial results and interviews for you shortly after the break. You're not going to want to miss this. Welcome back to the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series here on the GSRC, sponsored by Webb Hearing Centers. And this race, round 6 at Martinsville, sponsored by White River LLC. And man, was it an intense one, finishing with Bradley Holly taking the win over Richard Regan Jr., who just couldn't get the move done quite early enough to take home the win today. Daniel Knight comes home in third after starting in 25th, and Dominic Bagine follows him home after starting in 26th for fourth position. Thomas Sink fell back a couple of positions back down to fifth, with Mark Kalin doing an excellent job hanging on up there towards the top of the field, finishing in sixth position. Abner Acosta made his way up the field for seventh. Colton Lane holding on to eighth position with a damaged truck, and after that early pit strategy call, Austin Hunter held on for ninth position, and Brandon Walter made his way up to the top 10.
Danny Cervantes finishes in 11th. Christopher Williams 12th. 13th place is Jose Medina. Brett Adams finishes in the 14th place position. At the moment, looking to be advancing. We'll wait and see. Nicholas Schwartz goes to 15th, finishes 15th. Charles Sumner finishes in 16th. Doug Evans, Nicholas Hunter finished 17th and 18th, respectively. And then Matthew Aubrey and Baron Hilton finished 19th and 20th.
And then, unfortunately, we see the used truck lot, cars that had wrecks, bad internet connections, supernatural events, whatever. We got Mike Richter in 21st, 7 laps down, and Matthew Kohanek finished 22nd. And 23rd was Adam Zemke, and 24th was John LaBaff. Then 25th was Brendan Chatley, 26th went to Patrick Cowgill, 27th Adam Shane, 28th Greg Corzin, 29th Kyle Strykars, 30th Blaine Adams, and then 31st Doyle Lawrence. Dead last, unfortunately.
And that's going to take us to our post-race interview, starting with our winner tonight, Bradley Holly. Bradley, I'm sure this one, it comes as a relief to you after last week, but how surprised were you about the hard-charging Richard Regan Jr. behind you tonight?
Oh, I wasn't surprised at all. I expected Richard to get up there and give me a few taps on the bumper and race me hard and clean for the win.
Plenty of cautions tonight to cool down those tires, but how hard is it to get this truck running once again once you get through multiple tire cooling cycles on these things?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I had to feather the throttle a little bit, but nothing major. Once we got going, it was smooth sailing.
And I don't know whether you're paying attention to your relative, but how surprised were you to see Daniel Knight making his way up to third after starting at the back of the field tonight? I know that he's come up through the field multiple times, just like you have over the course of the seasons, but that has to be a little bit of a shocker.
No, it's not. I expect Daniel to get up there at some point. And with all the cautions and everything else, it probably gave him a bit more of an advantage, depending on if he was on the inside or outside.
And you took 2 wins during the round of 12, heading into the round of 8 and into Phoenix. What's your confidence level at this point in the season?
If it's like it was earlier in the year, I enjoy Phoenix, and I know that track pretty well. So I feel like I'm going to have a pretty strong truck.
And Bradley, since we didn't get to talk to you last week, is there anyone you want to thank for this win as we head into the round of 8?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the WEBB guys for we practice week in, week out, trying to figure everything out on how to drive the car and strategies and everything. North Star Title for sponsoring me, Aaron Webb for sponsoring the series, and you guys for broadcasting us week in and week out.
Well, thanks for talking to us, Bradley, and we look forward to seeing your performance at Phoenix next week.
Thank you very much.
That was Bradley Holly, our winner, and our second place driver, Richard Regan Jr., is caught up with Gary Weaver.
Standing here with the 46 of Richard Regan Jr., who started 11th, powered his way up to that second place position, and pretty much never left the tailgate of Bradley Holly throughout the final half of the race. What an incredible job, Richard! You've done incredible, and you just appeared seemingly almost out of existence once that second half of the race kicked in. Your truck pretty much came alive after that.
Yeah. I didn't get much practices in the truck, so I wasn't really prepared for the shifting that we had to do. So it took me a little bit to figure that out, but yeah, it was a good race.
And with how great of a race this was for you heading into the next race going into Phoenix, well, what are your thoughts?
We'll see. Phoenix is. I feel I don't consider Phoenix a short track with these trucks because of the power that we have. It's very torquey, so it's just weird. So we'll see how that goes.
Hopefully it does end up going well. Anyone that you'd like to thank for your second place finish before we go ahead and let you go?
Yeah, first, I gotta give a shout out to Brad and Daniel Knight. You know, it's pretty cool to be able to run people that hard and not wreck at Martinsville. I don't really have much trust in anyone else other than Brad in PRL, so it's cool to run him that hard. Yeah, I gotta thank everyone at Bobby Dale Earnhardt Legacy Esports, Athlete Booker, ButtKicker, Bruiser Racewear, Multiple Sclerosis Society, Susan G. Coleman, Oculus Glasses, you guys at GSRC, James O'Brien, Ty Stover, Tommy Milner. We got some exciting things coming up to announce here pretty soon about the 2021 season, so looking forward to it.
Well, we thank you for your time, and we hope to talk to you again next time.
That was our second place driver, Richard Regan Jr., and it looks like Joseph Tebben has caught up with our third place finisher, Daniel Knight.
Yep, I'm here with Daniel Knight. We came here for a night race at Martinsville, and you made it a Daniel Knight race at Martinsville, coming from 25th to 3rd. How on earth did you pull that off?
Very carefully, and just a lot of wreck avoidance. Y'all asked me last week if I was going to race or just sit back, and I decided to race. It's a lot more fun that way.
I can only agree. Is there anyone special you'd like to thank for your third place finish tonight?
Yeah, all the riding shotgun guys. We had some crap luck this week. Doyle and Adam both getting caught up in incidences, and that really sucks because I was hoping Adam would get into the next round of playoffs, but he ran really well. So the riding shotgun guys are awesome. They're so much fun to run with, and you guys for making this whole thing a lot of fun to watch and have the broadcast, and of course PRL for having an awesome league to race in.
All right, that was third place finisher Daniel Knight, and to take us out, we'll go back to our lead commentator, the Adam Lindgren.
Thank you, Joseph. And I want to give a big thank you and shout out to the Precision Racing League for bringing us on tonight and for their league sponsor, WEBB Hearing Centers, their season sponsor, rather, WEBB Hearing Centers. We also want to give a thank you to this race's specific sponsor, which is White River LLC. They did a great job bringing this race to us tonight, and also their league-long sponsor, ButtKicker, for being with the entire league this season. We also want to give a thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. As always, many thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our awesome music. See the screen for how to get in contact with her. Thanks to the team tonight, Gary, Joe, Sean, and Dougie. If you want to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find us at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Gram. And if you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenv.com. The link is in the description below. If you want to see more racing action, hit that big red subscribe button as well so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Now, next week we go into the round of 8. That's going to be at Phoenix. Phoenix is going to be the next race next week at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're not going to want to miss it when these drivers get into the heated championship battle that we have going on. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until then, we hope you've enjoyed joining us for the race tonight as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. And we hope to see you back on our channel soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.